What's going on, all you gamers? Here we are back with some more Outriders, and today is going to be the full build guide for this fella just here, the Acari pyromancer. It's going to be a variant on my last week's faserbeam build, but I believe it is definitely better in pretty much every way. So if you want to see that, that's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. I'll be bringing you all the latest and greatest in all the Xbox games, especially the looting and shooting kind variants, where you gear up and make yourself as powerful as possible. Hopefully the next one on my list will be Dark Alliance. But for now, you're not here to see that, you're here to see what this fella holds. What does he do? What does he actually bring to the table? And is he worth making into a build? Now this one, I must admit, is a slight variation on what I've already created, and that's because with the patch I had to kind of chuck something together really fast, and I don't think I maximised its potential. So what I've done, I've changed a few things, tweaked it, and I feel like this build is just a lot stronger in every aspect. So what I'm going to do is chuck on a bit of footage of how he plays, and if you enjoy it, stay tuned, the full build guide will be coming up next. Right, so like I said, this one is a variant. I'm going to go over this a little bit quicker because basically you've seen a lot of it. If you're part of the community, you've seen a lot of it. I'll just be going over it so that you know exactly what it brings to the table. So again, we've got Air to the Desert. This right here, tactical rifle, amazing, really nice. I love this gun, but the main reason we got it, status power. Status power is amazing, plus it's got skills life leech. Just great all-rounder, and one of the best guns you can use with the Acari set in general, I find. We've got Sandstorm. Shots conjure a sandstorm, dealing 232,619 damage over 5 seconds. Really nice for shooting off into the distance, hitting people with kind of a little bit of health left, and basically mopping up enemies. It does a fair chunk of change, but it's not really used for that. The reason we're chucking it on is more so for its status power, skills life leech, and then applying Fortress. Receive up to 43% damage, bonus based on your armour. Now I'm not going to go into this too much, it's just hands down the best anomaly mod on a gun you'll ever get. It's amazing, chuck it on your weapon, get 43% extra damage whenever you want on everything. Secondary, we are not using secondary in the slightest, chuck on whatever you want. If you want to chuck a Moaning Winds into the rotation, put it on this and put it over here on your firearm, on your pistols, and you'll be able to clear even faster than we are in here. And next up, and just over here, we're using the 3-piece acari. The kind of main staple is always the top 3. So we're using the head, we're using the chest, and we're using the lower armour. So with the headpiece, we're using the Fire Tsunami tier 3 mod. That captures everything, it keeps us alive with skills life leech. It's absolutely amazing. Try and keep it on most of your Acari set builds and you will be golden. Next up, we've got Burnt Out. Heatwave, damaged enemies take 25% more damage for 8 seconds. Again, this mod is used on most builds with the Acari set because of the damage it brings to the table. If you're hitting everything with heat waves, you might as well be applying that and getting up to 50% extra damage on all of the ones that you've hit. Just down here, and we've got Branded. Now this is where we've changed it up from the last build. With the last build we were getting the anomaly power, trying to boost it up a little bit higher, but we were missing out on something, and that's this right here. Thermal Bomb. Enemies affected by the skill receive 40% more damage. Honestly, absolutely amazing. I really do think that this is a much more viable build, more fun, will shave time off, and it just does some significant more damage. That right there, apply it to the elites, apply it to the bosses, or apply it to anyone you want to explode in their effect, and they will absolutely dissolve as soon as you hit them with that phaser beam. Next up, and we've got Tidal Wave. Heat Wave. The skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. Basically, this allows us to get 2 heat waves. If we could have got 3, that would have been absolutely amazing. I was only able to put 2 on in this build, but even so, I still think it's really good, and this is probably around about the most solid all-round build you're going to get with that, I'd say. Obviously, I can't use the Ashen Champion to tell you. If I ever find it, I'll make another build for you guys and girls, but right here, that is absolutely great. Thermal Bomb with Branded and 2 heat waves seems to do the job really, really well. Next up, and for the waistcloth of the Acari, we've got Anomaly and Echo as the tier 3 mod. Grants 3276 firepower, but the reason we're using it is just to get a little bit of extra anomaly power. 11,484, basically on every time you activate your skill. You're going to be activating your skills a lot more than that. You might as well say this is going to be a constant proc of 11,484 anomaly power, making it really, really nice. I probably haven't gone over it enough, but what you're going to want to do as well with all of your armour, chuck on as much anomaly power as you can, as much cooldown reduction as you can, and as much status power. That's basically for these 2 down here. For these ones up here, most of them come with skills life leech, which keeps you alive anyway. The next one we're going to be using is Captain Hunter. Increases your damage against elites by 25%. Just ridiculously good. It makes it so that you can hit some massive numbers on those bosses. I think I hit upwards of 7s, 8s, 9s and even 10 millions. You're going to do the job, and when you're applying everything, especially if you're with other people in your group and any of those debuff, honestly the numbers you can bring out will be crazy and a lot of fun. Next up, and any purple gloves with anomaly, cooldown and status power. With this, you're going to want to chuck on Size Matters, which is the phaser beam. Increase the beam's radius by 100%. I've tried this with it and without it. Trust me, put it on. It's pretty much better on every situation because of how much extra enemies you hit, melting the maps much faster, and it looks a lot more satisfying. If you want to look like Goku doing a Kamehameha across the map, this is definitely the mod for you. Next up, and we've got Bullet Kindling. Deal 20% more damage against enemies afflicted by burn. Basically, make sure you're hitting everything with those heat waves, especially the elites and the bosses, and then you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage. From the 50% extra damage from Burnt Out, from the 20% extra here, and the 25% extra that you'll be getting from the elite damage, it'll all stack up, plus a little bit of your skill tree means you're going to hit some crazy numbers. Last but definitely not least, you're going to want this. And this one isn't perfect. I would say if you can, get Anomaly. Instead of the skills life leech, I would say get cooldown. Anomaly, cooldown and status power. What you're going to want as well for the mods is Volcanic Armour. Phaser Beam reduces incoming anomaly damage by 65% and weapon damage by 65% when the skill is active. This, when paired with Damage Absorber with the skill tree we're going, means you don't have to hit things from far away. When I see people just kind of hitting everything from distance and taking on 1s and 2s and 3s, it absolutely baffles me. Honestly, with Phaser Beam, get in amongst every ad. tank what you can and absolutely mop everything up. You do a little area effect around yourself, meaning that they're going to melt as well. It will hit them, it will hit everything in the distance, get in amongst all the ads, and you'll clear the content much faster than if you're just trying to shoot off 1 or 2 or 3 phaser beams at distant enemies. Like I said, damage absorber, increase your armor by 52,000 and resistance by 10%. Just an all around one of the best mods in the game. Chuck it on whenever you can, just for your survivability. That gives us, just up the top there, 25,000 health, 126k armor and 156,000 anomaly power as standard. All around build, absolutely amazing. You'll survive, you'll do crazy damage, and you'll just clear content. A lot of fun, and I would say it's slightly better than the last build I made because of the thermal bomb being introduced and a little bit more explosive fun. Now, one thing to note with this build, I had run out of shards again for my cooldown, so the cooldown on some of these timers, when you look at them, might be a little bit on the higher side. I believe it's like over 10 seconds for the phaser beam. Now, obviously, if you put on the right stuff and you put that last piece on that I said that I was lacking in with the cooldown, and you've put all your shards on, I believe you'll be at about 8 seconds, which is pretty good. I don't think you'll need any more. But if you do want a little bit more, I will chuck a little bit lower text in one of the screens later on to show you which one to swap out skill node wise and which one to swap in if you wanted to. Now, for myself, I was finding this really fun, jumping in as kind of multiplayer games, hitting some big numbers and still having a lot of mitigation. If you're running solos, like I said, it may work in your favour to get a little bit more cooldown, but just play it to your kind of preference and you'll be golden. Right, so for the rotation, what you're going to want to do, because we don't have Feed the Flames to buff anything, we're just going to be applying our heat waves, nice and easy. You don't have to think about anything. They'll take more damage. If there's an elite you want to take even more, or a boss, apply the thermal bomb in amongst the mix. Then nuke everything with phaser beam. 9 out of 10 times, everything is going to fall over. Honestly, it does that much damage. It is just crazy fun and very viable. If you have a little look here, before we've done anything, 431,000, and you've got all of those extra percentage buffs in amongst the kind of mods and the skill tree. Trust me, this right here is a lot of fun and well worth doing. Last but definitely not least is the skill tree, and I honestly cannot remember what I did last week. If this is exactly the same, apologies, just take a screenshot and follow it if you want. I'm just going to tell you quick why I've done it. Basically, we're going down the bottom to get a little bit of anomaly power, make sure our marked enemies, so anything we're hitting in close range, be up and personal, be in amongst every enemy's and the boss's face. This right here will mean you're going to get the 8%. Also, we've took this one, which means it'll be 16. Just over here, and we've got a little bit more anomaly power. Moving up, we've got a little bit more anomaly power and weapon damage. We don't care about the weapon damage in the slightest, we just want the anomaly power and we want all of our cooldowns. This right here gives cooldown by 10%, which is why we've gone up this tree. Just over here, increase your max health by 10%. Just over here, we're going to go with increased armor by 20%. A little bit more health, and it gets us to, like I've said in pretty much all of my guides, a little bit of resistance. 20% in your skill tree, I take it every single time, keeps you alive, make sure you don't die to any of the big elites, their area effects or any of their skill damage. Next up, a little bit more health, and because we've got a lot of health in our skill tree, we've got a bit of this, which means we're going to be getting 10% extra anomaly power. Next up, and we've got a bit of skill leech. Skill leech keeps us alive, it is really good. Increase your max health. Just over here, a little bit extra skill leech, and one of my basic favourite kind of nodes in the game, activating ignite skills, increases your armor by 45% for 10 seconds. This is just going to be constant, it's really good to use, and it just keeps you alive in pretty much all situations, especially with the skill leech, and especially with what we've got going on in a second, which is this one right here, Fuel for the Embers. Double skill leech when under 30% of max health. If you're struggling, if you're in trouble, make sure that you chuck on a heat wave or chuck on your phaser beam and you will not fall over because of the mitigation and the health regen you'll be getting. This one right here gives extra 15% against any enemies that are affected by burn. Everything's going to be affected by that, giving you an extra 15% on top of all the other stuff already going on. Just over here, a little bit of cooldown, because cooldown is absolutely amazing. And last but not least, activating ignite skills increases your armor piercing by 45%, but the main thing we're going for is the resistance piercing, meaning our skills are going to hit like an absolute truck. Trust me, this skill tree gives you the viability of staying alive, having a lot of fun, tanking everything, and absolutely demolishing everything with massive numbers. Right, all you guys and girls, hopefully that one didn't take too long, because like I said, it is a variant on last week's one. I had to rush that out. I wanted to test other stuff, and this one right here, obviously I can't test Ashen Champion in the build yet, but this one right here, without it, I would say is probably about the best you're going to get for an all-round build that does crazy damage, great for single player, amazing for co-op, and is going to pretty much face tank every situation. This right here is the build you want. Have a lot of fun. Let me know what you guys and girls think. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care. I'll see you on next day.